12 to 6 and 3 to 9. So the way that I have always done them, that basically you measure as to what your policy, what the policy of the facility says. Did anyone have to measure wounds on their first clinical? Anybody experience that? How did they do it?
Like that.
So they do 12 to 6. Do they do the hot longest 12 to 6?
Yeah, it's the longest and then the deepest.
Okay, so if you're dealing with a patient, then your 12 to 6 would be their head. That's your 12 o'clock. So if you're dealing with a patient, the 12 o'clock is their head. Okay, so you're going to do the farthest place that's 12 to 6, which might be over here, by the way. See what I mean? It may be here that you're going to measure your 12 to 6 because it's your longest length. Does that make sense? So it's not exactly the center all the time. So a lot of times it is, but sometimes it might not be. So your 12 to 6 is going to be wherever the longest length is. Your width is going to be your 9 to 3, and you're going to find the longest width. And then on your depth, what you do is you take one of these Q-tips and you stick it into the deepest part, and then you mark on the skin with a pin the top of it, and then you measure that for your depth, okay? And so you go to the deepest part. Some of these do have tunnels, so you have to say what the tunnels are. So let's say you had a tunnel at exactly 3 o'clock, or you could say it's at 2 o'clock, or it might be at 5 o'clock. Tunnel at 5 o'clock measures down, and then you're going to measure using one of these down into that tunnel, and do the same thing again. And you'll measure to the skin, to the top of the skin. So the way that you document it is your measurement would be your length times your width times your depth, and that's going to be in the metric system. So it's probably going to be in millimeters or centimeters or some metric. I'd say centimeters. And so you're going to put that. Then if you happen to have a tunnel, then you're going to put tunneling at 4 o'clock, 1.2 centimeters, whatever it is. You may have 2 or 3 tunnels that you're going to define. And then you're going to define your, you're going to look at the wound. If you have eschar, you're going to define where that is. Eschar, 20% of wound from 12 to 1. So if you're, defining where your eschar is. Healthy granulation tissue, you're going to talk about the granulation tissue. And what else do you think you're going to talk about? Smell. Does it smell? When did she tell you to always, when do you monitor the smell? It's at the end after it's been completely cleaned. So you can't monitor from a dirty wound. Basically, it's after you've cleaned it up and it's ready to, then you'll probably need to walk out and come back. I don't know, it depends on how bad the smell was previously. So you're going to look at smell. You're going to look at exudate. Is there anything that you found? Where would you find your exudate? On your dressing, right? So you're going to define what that looks like. You're going to look at the color. How much is it? Is there a lot? Is there 0? Which wound will have very little exudate? Right, and what are they called?
Arterial.
Arterial. So arterial wounds aren't going to have much exudate. Hopefully none. And what they have hopefully will just be be blood, right? If you see a blood in arterial wound, that's good. We want to see some bleeding because that means there's a blood supply there. So what we're going to do is you're going to, I'll just do mine. You're going to do your gloves. I did this with the first year students. And remember that when you open it up, that what you open up with your gloves is sterile. So this is where you're going to put your wound, right here on this sterile spot, right? And so go ahead and put your other stuff in here. One of these. To measure your wounds, I have a few of these that are in centimeters, and then I have a few of these. So that has a centimeter next to it, so you can use that. Or you can get a goniometer if you want to. I don't care how you do it. Whatever you use. I think there's probably some actually tape measurements. So whatever you use. To me, this is easier to use with a wound. So you're just going to use the edge of this for the metric system to measure it. Okay? So you're going to do that, and you're going to have your wound here, and you're going to have all your pieces. And then you're going to put your gloves on and stay sterile because you need practice. It hasn't. Some of y'all probably haven't done it since we did it last year. Did any of you have to put on sterile gloves? Tara did. Anybody else do any wound? Well, y'all all need to practice then, don't you? Okay, so you do that, remember, and so this one is sterile, and you stay on this side of the part of it with oh, and I didn't wash my hands. Y'all have to wash your hands first. I don't know why I didn't wash my hands. I didn't do it this last time either. But go in and wash your hands first and then do it. So then this one has to be on the inside of it with the glove part, remember. You don't want to touch the outside once you've touched it with your hand. Find out where your thumb is and put it on, and then you're sterile and you can measure your wound, okay? But I want one of you to do it and then the other one to do it so y'all can watch and see if they mainly stay sterile when they put on their gloves, otherwise that's fine. Okay, any questions? Did I leave anything out? Okay, go get your gloves.